I probably wouldn't do it any other way, because I think without that pressure and without that stress, people get kind of complacent and they're just like, everything's kind of fine. And I think you stop challenging yourself as like an owner or coach.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the Struggle to Strength podcast, your source for real life application on how to turn your struggles into strengths in all things mind, muscle, and money. Cool. So today we got Alex, my boy, Alex Robles. He's been on the podcast before. He was on his way to the Olympics for Taekwondo, actually. Or maybe it was kickboxing. Now Taekwondo. He's in Taekwondo. It was Taekwondo. Okay. And now he's back, and we're going to talk about the transition that he made from, being a personal trainer at a gym that he was just sort of paying rent to now he's a year into his entrepreneurial journey of having opened up his own space, his own Taekwondo studio, and the struggles that he had making that jump. Because that's a big jump. I mean, I went from being a personal trainer in a gym and paying rent to moving online, and there's less overhead than he has and less pressure. But we were talking about all the challenges that he's faced and how he's overcome them, and how he's taken some time to breathe before he goes on to the next move that he's going to make that's going to bring more challenge and more stress and more pressure. But it's the life of an entrepreneur. And it was cool to hear his experience of what it's like to do what we do, but in a brick and mortar setting. So I enjoyed it. It was a good conversation. Alex is a fun guy to chat with, and also a very good human who's doing really good things in his community. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode. If you're interested in either Taekwondo, fitness, building a community, or creating a business that is brick and mortar focused, I think this is going to be a really good episode for you. So tune in, and we will see y'all inside. I know what you're doing, but tell the listeners, what is Alex up to these days?
Well, I just opened my first brick and mortar martial arts studio and boxing gym in South Orange County. So I went from being a competitor to being a personal trainer. For those who don't know, me and the boys shot the shit a while ago from going from athlete to trainer, and that transition, and going from the retirement of an athlete to more career wise. And it was a low base because I was just renting out of a gym, and now I have a gym with about 170 members right now, that we, I kind of not built from the ground up, but I got healthy structure and I just built upon that. So right now it's called San Juan Taekwondo. Thinking about switching it to San Juan Taekwondo and Fitness, but right now I am the current owner and master instructor of San Juan Taekwondo in San Juan Capistrano, California.
So you started out as a Taekwondo competitor, and then you stopped doing that, and then we're doing the kind of like in-person training thing. And now you've phased into, or you've graduated to like a legit gym setup.
I did Taekwondo for over 30 years and did really well competitively there. And then I did some kickboxing. Just one of my friends was just like, hey, I have an open slot in this kickboxing competition. Do you want to do it? Because I was cross training in boxing. I boxed for a while, and then I just wanted to try it. Like, either I was going to do really, really well, or I was going to get my ass beat. And I was just like, there's only one way to kind of find out. And so I did about five kickboxing competitions that were pretty successful. And then once I was retiring, not all, but most athletes in the martial art world go into some form of, training, whether they become Taekwondo instructors or they go into fitness. And I chose the route like functional fitness, because I don't know if you guys can tell in this video, I'm not much of a lift dude, but functional fitness and like special populations was my lane, working with, majority of my clients were just people who wanted secondary cardio. So I started getting into, holding mitts and doing fitness boxing with a little bit more technical, like sparring style. And then A lot of my clients were like recovering from some sort of injury. I had a lot of Parkinson's patients that wanted to box. I had the most difficult one. I had a person with like heavy case of vertigo, so they couldn't go up and down and up and down. Like even like the slightest motion, they would like get super dizzy and like almost fall over. So I went to school and got my degree in biology and exercise science. So I wanted to focus on like what's the person who needs fitness as like a lifestyle and needs it for recovery. So I focused on that. And then through the course, I was just kind of changing it up and just implementing fitness boxing with functional fitness. And then that was kind of like my lane when I was living in Colorado. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool to watch you work with, especially those recovery clients. Like I will always remember your Parkinson's clients. It's really good for like boxing's really good for Parkinson's because you get feedback. And I mean, having been there for a couple of years and seeing the progress that he had made, especially with something like Parkinson's, that was really cool. And you always seem to really enjoy it. So
he's still in Colorado. We still work online. So once a week on Fridays, we're on Zoom. He's got a bag in his basement and we're just doing combos and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, I had 5 Parkinson's clients at one point, and then during COVID, it just kind of dwindled down to 1. Wow. And a lot of them were they went to this center in, I don't remember if it's in Morrison or somewhere in like the Golden Morrison area that they do like Punch for Parkinson's. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit slower pace that they give them and a little bit more high repetition kind of stuff, like just hit the bag like this a whole bunch. But his name is Hans. Me and Hans are still working together. He's probably one of the funniest people I've ever had to work with. That dude is 78 years old, and like you say, good morning, Hans. How you doing? He's like, well, like I woke up this morning, so it's a good start. I'm like, geez. He's very dark sense of humor, which kind of fits my style. But yeah,
I saw like a study. Who knows like how legit it is? But I saw some study about like dark sense of humor being correlated to like surviving things like cancer and dementia and like extending your life. There was some study about that.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. Like most people that I've met that have gone through some shit, they just like don't care anymore, and they have the darkest sense of humor or whatever. Yeah, and it just makes, I think, a little bit easier, a lot more fun if you can just embrace that darker side that some people don't want to talk about, But
yeah, like you're in it regardless. How you feel about it doesn't change the facts.
Might as well like have a little bit of fun.
Yeah.
While you're getting through it.
Yeah, while you're fighting cancer and still probably working a little bit to pay for it, right?
Yeah.
So why do you think like why boxing specifically? Why is that a draw for people that have Parkinson's and also like does it seem to help them? And if so, like why? Because
you're working both sides of the brain. So one's mechanical, like just getting the hand to the mitt, or, just getting those muscle fibers to start moving and just getting moving. But then you have the synapse between the neurons. So what happens with Parkinson's is there's not that easy of a synapse between those two. And so that's why they have a lot of tremors and they're moving, because everything in the brain is kind of like a fireworks show, if you will. And so when you get your clients to focus on what they're doing, their brain is now working to tell them, okay, left hand to the pad this way, right hand, move. And so now they're training their brain, both sides of just, okay, get my hand to the mitt, but also hear what he's saying and kind of focus more internally on what I need to do. So if you're doing just regular fitness, you can kind of like zone out until the trainer says stop, because you're just doing one motion, for whatever amount of reps. And the cognitive part of the brain is working just as hard as the mechanical part of the brain. So that's where there's no cure for Parkinson's. Dude's got a lot of things to say this morning, so if you hear him, I apologize. there's no
There's no
cure for
cure.
Parkinson's. Yeah, sorry, there's no cure for Parkinson's, but what you can do is minimize the symptoms is what we were looking for. So my whole thing was like, I didn't always say this, but like off drugs in the gym was insane. But like find like that happy medium between like whatever, Parkinson's medication you're taking, but instead of loading and loading and loading on medication, you can just come to the gym, turn it into a lifestyle and minimize your symptoms and, build community and just enjoy, you know, have this be like exercise and boxing be a part of your day to day so you can, have a healthier, you know, lifestyle, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because like I've definitely noticed that since I started doing, some even just like low level of martial arts, it's improved like other things. Like, I don't know, like I hadn't been wake surfing, for instance, in like years, but I'd been doing martial arts. And like next time I got on like a wake surfing board, I was like 10 times better. Like I felt like the control over my body and balance was like astronomically better, especially balance.
I mean, like, what's the best martial art for somebody to get into? And I'm always honest and say, I don't care if you do karate, jujitsu, taekwondo, even kung fu or whatever, I always say just, whatever fits for you, because what you're going to get, whether you become a high level martial artist or you just do it recreationally, you're going to get certain things that you didn't know you needed, whether you said like balance, coordination, stress management. Some people just need to be humble too. You know what I mean? Like and it builds like a sense of community. So most kids come for the discipline aspect at my gym. We're not really a competition school, but like for older people, I always tell them the same thing. Like friends will say like, yeah, I've been thinking about getting into this. I just say, try it first, because like you said, maybe you haven't gone snowboarding or wakeboarding or whatever in a while. Your core strength and your balance is going to be so much better just from practicing any form of martial art, because that's where it kind of starts from. And then you'll see yourself like, oh shit, I'm just better at life now, So.
That's the goal of fitness too. And you have a community. You mentioned building a community, and you've always been really good at that. Ever since we met at Relive, I feel like you were a pretty like integral part of that community as well. And so now it's interesting to see that you've gone from renting a space and still being an important part of that community, but now like renting out a space out of a gym. Let me clarify. Like Alex and I met, we were both renting space out of a gym, and now you have your own brick and mortar studio that with 170 members that you're building a community at. So things have like amplified exponentially. What's it like for you? Because I went from renting space out of a studio to just working out of this office and being online and building a community.
Yeah.
You're doing it in person. What was that like for you? Because that's a big jump.
It was such a change. And like, you know me well in that workspace. Like I was talking to Gio actually a couple weeks ago, and we were just texting like, hey, how's it going stuff. And I was just saying like, when it was me, you, Scuba Steve, Evan, and Gio, and like Tom, and like that crew, it was like, even though I was like more there in the evening, it was just like, it was just a fun place to go and work. But like the responsibility aspect was low. I just had to pay my rent and have fun with my clients, shoot the shit with people, and, get in, get out. That was it. Like maybe, the rent, some gyms charge a higher amount of rent. I would say for myself personally, the Ray Days, they took care of us pretty well on the rent aspect. So like, it was never really it was never really stressful. And my style of fitness doesn't really coordinate that well online. You know what I mean? Like I do mainly, fitness, boxing, and functional fitness, where I can writing out a program and waiting for a check-in and getting feedback. Just that takes a lot of patience. So like, bless you for doing that and all that stuff. But like, it's just, it never really worked for me. And I tried to do some online stuff before. Scuba Steve tried to get me to like, just have an online aspect and like just try it. I was like, all right, I'll try it. And I gave it a good try, but like I mentioned, the responsibility level was low. I didn't have much to do, but now that I have this brick and mortar, the rent that I paid was astronomical for a Southern California, Orange County retail spot. Like the rent was, between 8 to 9 grand a month that you have to meet, that no one gives a shit whether you had a low month, a good month, or whatever. Rent is due and the landlord is collecting regardless. And then you have, it's not just like the payments per month that's like gives you stress, because you have like whatever loan payments you have. No one prepares you for the back end of stuff like employment tax, taxes in general, your monthly EDD tax. I was like, I have to pay this monthly, and what the fuck do I get out of it? Oh, nothing. Sick. And then you have all this overhead that you never even considered that you're now responsible for on that back end. Plus, make sure the lights stay on, those bills. Like before, it was somebody else's responsibility if the lights turn on. Now it's on me. And I have more of like a relaxed personality, but now I have to be serious and be like, okay, all of this needs to get paid, and all of this is my responsibility. And I'm like, fuck. So I had to like mature very quickly. And then I listened to actually one of your other podcast episodes with, I can't remember his name, but he was talking about like just hiring the right people to put in the right position when opening a business or whatever. That was the truest thing, because I know my limitations. I know what I'm good at. I'm good at on the floor, teaching, doing that. Is behind the office. And like I do have a lot of help. I will never say I opened the gym by myself, because I did have a lot of help. But like my sister, she got her MBA, and she works for corporate Hyundai. So I was like, hey, help me with my profit and loss, help me how to do this. So I had a lot of extended people help me, and like other people that own martial arts studio. I'm like, what did you do in this situation? They just, the community was so helpful, and just be like, yo, do it this way. I promise you it'll help. But there's a lot that goes on that you just have to figure it out. And that is the most stressful, because you can't just think of yourself really anymore. You got to think of all these families, the members, the families, the employees that you're going to have. Is everybody, are you providing what you need for your members? Like both financially, like before I had like a sliding scale, like of charging, like, okay, I had my kids program, different price, students, different this, all this other stuff. But then once you open your own brick and mortar, it sounds so shitty, but like you have to be selfish in the sense of like, my good deeds won't pay the rent all the time. And I do help families all the time. Someone can't, pay their tuition or membership, and say, hey, figure it out. You're good. Keep bringing your kid. We're all good. Pay when you can, and helpful. But you have to be a little bit more business owner hat versus like, how can I help everybody? Kind of, because most people that I realize will take advantage if you let them. You know what I mean? And not most people, sorry. Like some people will kind of take advantage. So that stress level of always wanting to improve, always wanting to grow. Am I doing this right? Are my members happy? Is the rent, how much am I? It's just insane amount of stress that it puts on you. And you're just like, you get through 1 month, and, I do, better now after my first year. I just finished my first year, and I paid off my major loan in 1 year. The amount of money that I was like paying, like off the loan, the rent and everything else, I was like, okay, it's going to be a struggle, but we'll get stronger at the end, so.
Dude, this is one of those things, like you get into business. And when we were at Relive, like, you're right, the pressure was very low. The barrier to entry was very low. And for us to meet our basic needs was pretty easy, because we were well taken care of. Exactly.
Covers the rent. Yeah,
exactly. And now you have all this overhead. You've leveled up your business. And I think a lot of people are under the assumption that like, oh, well, as time goes on, it probably gets easier, right? No, it gets harder. Like there's more pressure. There's more people to take care of. There's more bills. There's more expenses. There's more overhead. And every time you level up a little bit, there's going to be new challenges that, like you said, you had no idea were going to happen. Like you can't, it's hard to expect and know all of the pieces of the puzzle, all of the overhead you're going to have, but that's also being an entrepreneur, enjoying those challenges, getting through them. And I was following your journey when you started the studio, and to hear that you had paid off that loan in 1 year. First off, congratulations. That's a huge accomplishment. Yeah. And seeing all of the new challenges that you are enduring and that you're working through is amazing. Like, and when you level up again, there's gonna be more. Like when you take the next step, which I imagine you are. I guess a question I have, I was trying to think of how to phrase this, is like, do you notice that pressure goes away once you reach a level where you know your expenses are covered, you know that everything, all of your employees are taken care of, the bills are paid? Does the pressure go away? And do you feel less or more inclined to continue to grow? Because then you're going to end up leveling up again, and you're going to go through this again. Like, that's part of what I like about the journey, is like, you know, you struggle, you get through it, you get better, everything's good. Okay, cool. Now what can I do next? I level up again. I struggle, I get through it, I get better. And then you continue to grow. What's that process like for you? Like, where are you now in that process?
Once you pay off like a significant bill or loan, the stress doesn't necessarily go away, because like you said, you're still trying to, like, I'm still in like my first few years of running this business. So I'm still, you know, like, what can I do next? Like, what's the next step? So
I think it's just always like that.
It's always like that, but
I think it's like that forever.
Forever. And I got more gray in my beard now, but it's all right. But
same.
What you get is this little sense of like, okay, like, fuck, all right. It's like,
that's good.
That's, you just get a moment to breathe. And then what you do get is a sense of like reflection to enjoy it just a little bit more. Yeah, so before, you're just like hustle, pay, make sure everyone's happy, pay. And then now you're just like, all right, to look back, enjoy, see what you kind of went through that year, and just be like, okay, like, that's probably my hardest so far. Okay, I had to just build. You get a sense of just this calmness. But what is really cool is like, I learned this a long time ago, and maybe you guys have done this before, but like, manifesting what you want your business to look like sounds like the dumbest thing in the world, but it works. Like, I got quick backstory is, before I moved to Colorado, I worked at this martial arts studio. I was working there for like 3 years. I wanted to focus on my competition career. So I was like, I need to move to Colorado, closer to the Olympic Training Center and closer to where my friend owned a school. And then I moved to Colorado, loved it, 8 years. And then I was like, I'm never moving back to California. And then my mom ended up getting sick. And so I was like, okay, well, and it was COVID times, and she's good now. There's unfortunately no cure for her attitude, but you know, we can't perform miracles here, you know? But I moved home, and it was only supposed to be temporary. And then my former coach wanted to retire. He asked me, do you want to buy the studio? And I said, absolutely not. I was like kind of done with Taekwondo at this point. Like, I was retired. I was building something cool with my personal training and fitness and boxing and stuff. And then I thought about it as like an adult, like, this is a really good opportunity to buy something that could be mine. Because some people just are good with renting space out of a gym and growing their own brand. But I had my personal training company called Stay True Combat Sport and Fitness, but that was kind of being drowned under Relive, because people say like, oh, I trained with Alex at Relive. And Relive was kind of getting all the notoriety, which is great because they did a lot for us. But I felt like my personal brand, my personal training brand, wasn't growing as fast. And so you can do all the social media marketing, and then you're like, oh, where do you train out of? Oh, I train out of this gym. And I was kind of over making other people money at this point. So I thought about it as an adult, and long story short, I agreed to buy the gym. He had about 130 something members or so. And then within that year, we built it up to what it is now. But I had to like sit and manifest, like, what do I want this to look like? And I did a lot. And, shout out to my friend Gio, who helped me kind of pick up a structure of how to hold mitts and do a boxing class and stuff. So I was like, okay, I don't just want it to be martial arts because I'll get burnout. It's quick for burnout. So I was like, okay, at one point I'm going to buy a rig, a bag rig that you can like bring out and put away and bring out like on a trolley. And I thought about this like overnight, and I was just like sitting there and I was like, I'm going to have a morning boxing class for adults and teens and functional fitness. And that's what I'm going to have in the morning. And then afternoon, it's going to be martial arts. And then I'm just going to grow it from here and do all. And I was just painting a picture of what I wanted it to look like. And then shout out to one of my friends, Andy Sarayo, who I've known forever. He's one of the VPs for Fearless Records, and he owns Chain Reaction in Anaheim, California. He's just the type of person that like wants everybody to do well and wants everybody to be like, hey, what do you need? And I was like, dude, I really want to open a morning class, but after paying my loan and everything else, I'm left, I'm still kind of in the red, after each month. But so I was like, after my first year, then I'm going to save money and open this. He's like, well, let's just do it now and pay me back whenever. So he helped me with the smaller loan to like get this rig going and start building it. And then what I had in my brain started to happen in my studio with the help of like how we mentioned before, community. Like my studio is nothing without like the community of people I had around me. And so it just added on this like way of, okay, I'm burning rent in the morning. I'm only open from 2 to 7. Like there was an opportunity to make more money for less stress. But that was my thought process in the beginning. But opening that morning class, adding this boxing rig, getting these members, doing this other stuff, just added this other layer of kind of stress of like, okay, now I have to make sure I'm growing this part of my business and like expanding this here. So whatever you want to do to grow your business adds like another layer of like, stress, work ethic. But I probably wouldn't do it any other way because I think without that pressure, without that stress, people get kind of complacent and they're just like, everything's kind of fine. And I think you stop challenging yourself as like an owner or a coach or whatever. If you just say like, you do media drives. If someone just wanted the same cut video every day and you can do it with your eyes closed, you're not being challenged. You're not being, you're not finding another skill level that you think you can reach because no one's giving you that, challenge or like, hey, can you do this? Be like, well, fuck yeah, I think I can do it. But okay. And then you put in all this hours and I cannot edit a video for the fucking life of me. I've tried when it was COVID and trying to edit these like small things on my phone. I think I hit you up once and be like, yo, can you edit a video for me? It's like a 5-minute. Cause like, I'm not good at, I just don't have the patience for it. So with the new pieces to a puzzle, your puzzle starts to get a little bit bigger. Then you're like, does this puzzle ever fucking end? Like I thought it was a 300-piece puzzle. Now it's a 5,000-piece puzzle, but it keeps me on my toes and like, it keeps me from being complacent right now. And it keeps me from just settling. Okay, I finished my year. Now I'm going to coast. Like now I'm thinking, okay, what else can I do to grow the business that I've already, have? Like, how do I get more members? How can I?
Yeah, how have you been getting more members? What's your main form of marketing for like a brick and mortar studio?
So Instagram, I could probably do better, to be honest. It's just that first year, I didn't care about it that much. I just wanted to fix what was going on because the previous owner, he was doing it for 20 years and he had a small sense of burnout towards the end. And so just to pick up that morale and let people know that, okay, this studio has a high level standard, I had to fix that in between. But to answer your question, it's all word of mouth at the first year. Like tell your friends, do a buddy week, like, hey, bring a friend. I did February, like the Valentine's Day thing. I said, come kick it with the ones you love. So I was like, bring anybody you love. Cousin, friend, roommate, coworker, someone that you kind of said, hey, I love you. And they're like, hey, I love you too. Bring that person in and build on that sense of community. Like if I convinced you and I'm going to call your wife, you and your wife to come work out together, be like, hey, you guys live together, but come try this together. You may suck at it or it may be easy, but you're going to guarantee you're going to have a lot of fun trying it. And then that's the sense of like building the rapport within the community and just telling people like, hey, bring a friend, bring this. And then I did a few events, like birthday parties is one thing where you can have your birthday at the studio and bring all your friends, and we just play games. We provide all this stuff, and that brings in a little bit more business. So it's a lot of networking the families that are already there. Mm-hmm. This year, I made a professional relationship with this guy named Chris, who does a lot of video content and photography, and he did a lot of jiu-jitsu schools. And by chance, he just hit me up and was like, hey, I would love to work with your studio and do like your class photos and stuff. And I liked his style. It was newer, and we just built this relationship. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And he came to my 1-year party, and he made this video thing for me. And I was like, okay, now that I have a little bit less stress, I can ask him, hey, can you make this video for me? Because I had another friend, Eddie Coleman, who I went to high school with. He made me a promotional video for when I first moved home, posted that on Instagram. I got like 3 to 5 clients off that. So those content videos really, really work. But
clip that.
Yeah.
Clip
James,
that. It's going on my Instagram.
Yeah. But also, this is for you, my guy. Like, I want to be able to ask people not for help or for a homie hookup. Like, hey, can you hook me up with the video? Like, if I have the means, I'm going to say, Travis, what do you charge? Okay, I want to be able to pay for that. Even though we have a relationship, I don't want to assume that you're just going to hook me up because we know each other or we've worked together or whatever. So I never really asked until I had the means. But my friend Eddie, he helped me out. He's like, dude, don't worry about it. I got you. And like whatever I can do to repay that, whether let him know or whatever, because he helped me out a lot. And then this other guy, Chris, I was just like, he's more local because my friend Eddie lived in LA and I'm in South Orange County. So that's like a equivalent drive from Fort Collins to like Littleton. You know what I mean? It's like it's a bit of a drive, especially in California traffic. It'll take you like 3 days. I want to be able to use the money that I'm saving now and put back into the gym, but that's like paying people for their service if they're helping me grow my studio. So if you're listening to this world, if you're a real homie, don't ask for a homie hookup, pay what they're worth or even pay more. And like, if your homie wants to help you out and be like, dude, don't worry about it, I got you. That's how you build community rapport. Trades, I traded with a lot of people, which is, I'm all for helping people too. I always say fitness should be available for everybody or whatever, but I want to be able to pay people for their service if they're helping me grow what I'm doing. And so he came into my 1-year event, made a video for me, posted that. People were like, dude, that looks so sick. Like, congratulations. And so I'm going to hire him, soon to like help me with some more video content for like the adult boxing class and the Taekwondo class, and just kind of have more things to post on social media that just look a little bit more professional than what I can do on my iPhone or, just
that makes
make
a big difference.
Yeah. Even iPhone stuff's great too. Like, especially on like social media. I think there's like there's a good split depending on what you're selling. If you're selling something like you're selling, which is to like normal, regular people, you want it to be relatable. So it's like your kind of like ratio of like professional to kind of like user created or like you just use your iPhone is a lot lower. Like maybe if you have like 20% of all of your content is like, high quality professional stuff, and like 80% is like just, photos and stuff with your iPhone, like that works. You know what I mean? Like if you're selling like private jets, you probably want to have that reverse 80% professional, 20% like user generated. But a lot of people like stress too much about that, of being like, well, I don't do great stuff. It's like, dude, sometimes that converts more sales because people are like, that looks like something I would do. I relate to this,
Exactly. Well, I got an idea partially from my friend Josh here and partially from somebody else, but like a lot of my teenagers right now, they want to get gains. You know what I mean? They just want to be hugely.
The teenagers all want to get jacked.
They just want steroids.
Wild,
I was like,
man.
You're going through puberty. Your body, you don't even know.
You're already on steroids. You're going through
Bro,
puberty.
don't even get me started. We got some fake natties at my gym that I go to right now. They're like 17 years old. And I'm like, bro, what are you doing, man? What are you doing?
I have one kid, I told him I'd mention his name is JP. He's trying to get just mad gains or whatever. And I told him to follow you for like some advice online and all this stuff on Instagram. And he's like, he hadn't been coming to class. I was like, where you been? He says, cardio kills gains, sir. And I was like,
Nah.
I'm going to slap you so hard. And I was like, the guy that showed you, I was like, I've seen him do cardio. A lot of them box. A lot of them will walk on the treadmill, get sweaty and do what they do cardio. Their main focus is like heavy lifting and, all that stuff. But cardio doesn't, yes, if you do an excessive amount of cardio, sure. But with anything with over excess, you're going to, ruin something. But I just like the mentality that I was like, who gave you this information? He's like, oh, I found it on some influencer. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, of course.
And so I told him, I was like, hey, follow this person. Okay. And so I gave him a few people to follow.
I'm going to make a post about it.
Yeah,
Cardio actually doesn't kill your gains. You got to the systems of the body need to function in unison. I
always just say, like, I've always been more of like a cardio person, whether it was boxing, martial arts, trail running, or whatever, but I still did a lot of resistance, heavy. Like I mixed a whole bunch of things in there in order to, look like this fucking perfect human specimen you see right now. But but it's just like the information that like the Liver King, his whole ordeal.
Dude,
like,
that shit was wild too.
I was like, oh yeah. Wild. On steroids,
so many people believed him too, and that's the problem.
That's the crazy part.
Insane.
Yeah, so many people believed him.
You can get anybody to believe anything if you sell it right.
And he knew exactly what he was doing. I mean, let's be real. Like people like him, they know exactly what they're doing. They're feeding off the fact that they're creating animosity between camps. That's going to create engagement. That's going to build a following, and like. Now he's going around with all of his apology shit. Like he knew exactly what he was doing.
He's like, do this, apologize later.
He saw everyone else do it. Like, but he took it to the next level. He's seen Mike O'Hearn do it. He's seen all of these people who won't confirm nor deny whether or not they're enhanced users or whether or not they're taking steroids. And he was like, I'm taking it to the next level. I'm going to say that all I do is eat liver.
It was such a jump for me because going from like a martial art where everyone's cutting weight and no one's using performance enhancers to like working at when it started at V3 where they had their aesthetics team and then going to Relive, I'm just like, oh. And people were like, David Toggins like, hey, are you going natural? And people like, and like, I don't want to pull the curtain down on the aesthetic world, but not many. People think steroids, they think of Arnold Schwarzenegger back in the 80s, illegal, this, that, and the other, and all this other shit. And so it took me a minute to understand it too, because I had no grasp on it. The only steroid I took was like for my lungs when I got sick.
Yeah, it was, what is it called? I forget what it's called, but dude,
inhaler.
Most albuterol, that's what it was.
Yeah.
You would be blown away at how many people that go to regular gyms that are enhancing that you're like, well, that doesn't make sense because you kind of look like shit. Yeah, it is wild. It's how insane. Prevalent it is, and it's mostly by people who are uneducated and don't understand how they work.
I got one word for you:
how it really impacts
arm breaths.
Yeah,
that's all I can say. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. But it's taking the page out of a lot of people that I follow. We started doing we're going to start doing what's called Technique of the Week. And that it can be anything under the sun. It can be a boxing technique, a Taekwondo technique, a breathing technique. And what Travis was saying, like when you start doing things like on your iPhone that are a little bit more like relatable and stuff, that's what I want people to feel a sense when they come to my studio. It's like, we are not a competition school. Like when I was a heavy competitor at a high level, but my school, we don't really do a lot of competition. One, I don't need that kind of stress in my life, and it's not the best for business. And it's like you have to be all into the competition life, and it's not that easy. I have a few friends who are like in too deep, like they're known for their competition team. They travel all the time and, whatever. But my whole deal with my studio is that it's a sense of community. You're going to feel welcome. You're going to feel like, yeah, you're getting a good workout. The tech, even though we're not a competition school, I still stress high level technique. You're not going to get away with that. You're not going to get away with being lazy. You're not going to get away with, I tell a lot of my members, like, hey, if you don't want to put in the work, go to another Taekwondo studio, tell them why you want to switch studios. Be like, oh, I don't want to try that hard. And I'm pretty sure that person's going to be like,
We don't
what?
want you either. Yeah.
Yeah, you just want to come here because you think we're going to be lazier? Like, no, it's like you come here to be, whatever you need, a better version of yourself, exercise, kids with discipline, whatever their parents want to get out of it for them. But my studio is a safe space for any single person that wants to come and just feel like they have. Sometimes it's the gym for other people. Like Relive, that was for a lot of people, is like, I just love going here. It's smaller, a sense of family. I work out with Alex, but I can shoot the shit with Josh. Scuba, super nice. Evans, hilarious. Other gyms have this like mob mentality of like, no new friends. We're this elite. It's intimidating, but once you break into that family mold, it takes a little bit more. I just kind of wanted to, as soon as you walk in, it's like, the cooler version of Olive Garden. You're here, your family. I wish I had the breadsticks when you walked in, but it's just, I know what it's like to move to another state, city, gym, school, and just not feel, welcome at first. And then it does, if you don't get that welcoming feeling, you're probably not going to come back. Or you feel that click, like, oh, there's that group and that group and that group. I don't know where I fit it, So I want to just eliminate that. And so, I try to do a lot of things. We did toy drive, Thanksgiving food drive. We did a beach cleanup. We did a park cleanup in the area. So I can't just say, oh, I want to be this in the community and not actually help the community and stuff like that. So it's a lot of hats I wear now. It's a lot of different things. But like I mentioned before, if I'm not constantly doing something to improve the studio or like be something in the community, then I feel like I'm just going to be stagnant. And then that's just going to be the start of whatever decline that can happen.
Yep. I feel you. Well, dude, it's been awesome to watch you grow. It's been dope to see what you're building and what you're creating. And now like learning a little bit more about it, it's even more exciting.
It's been a trip though. Like, thank you. A lot of crying in the shower, I'll tell you that
much. I think we can all relate to that as entrepreneurs. It's a lot of just like, what the hell did I get myself into? But it's so rewarding. And you've done a killer job, dude. So
my sister lives on a street called Gainsborough, and every time I drive in, I always think of you guys from the gym. I say, "Oh yeah, you think you live so well, but do you live off Gainsborough here,
I've probably tagged an Instagram post on that street. I'm sure.
Yeah. It's hilarious because like you never want to forget most people think the journey starts at like your first business or maybe whatever before that, but it goes so much farther back. And I think what's keeping me at a certain level of success is like, even interacting with you, with Scuba, with all the people that worked at Relive and V3, and just being a sponge and learn. Because like I don't know everything, I don't have all the answers. So if I didn't have these people in my community and like all that stuff, like or just references, I'd be like, yo, follow this person on Instagram. He's going to give you better information. And that's like, because I'm not going to, like, I'm small to whatever. And so like people see like, oh, what do you know about lifting? It's like, well, in theory, I know like the breakdown of what it does to the body, but like, here's a person that knows what he's talking about and is doing it. So you as like a reference, I can give people hopefully a better source of knowledge than like, oh, I follow this influencer who's just feeding the bullshit for the followers. You know what I mean? And so I will forever say this level of success I have reached has been nothing without the people that I've either worked with before, work with currently, or am surrounding myself with. So I appreciate you guys letting me come on here and shoot the shit about how the stresses of owning a business really looks like, you know. I'm only 21 years old, right?
we appreciate you too, man. Like you said, it's nothing about community, and it's good to have you in ours. And I know we probably, hopefully, we have some listeners who are going to want to join yours. So,
I mean,
yeah, give yourself the plug, dude. Where can we reach you? Where can we find you?
So I have the luxury of having 2 Instagram accounts now. The staytrue.bfu is kind of like my personal / like my active life journey, like a lot of trail running and, you know, my own personal stuff. And then San Juan TKD is my business. And that's where you'll see all the martial arts and boxing and techniques that we do and stuff like that. So yeah, staytrue.bfu on the personal for bullshit and party. And then the San Juan Taekwondo where you'll see a lot of the stuff that we're doing in the community and stuff that we're doing in the studio and, you know, growing from there and stuff. So yeah.
Well, I already follow you, but to everyone listening, give my boy a follow and check out what he's doing. And we'll put those links in the show notes as well. But Alex, man, thank you again for coming on and sharing your experience with transitioning from renting a space to leasing a space and making big gains on your entrepreneurial journey. I'm big proud to see how far you've come and excited to see where you go next. So.
Yeah, well, hopefully you'll see a portion of me back in Colorado opening something in the next few years, because the goal
that would be sick.
Is always growing. So like have, you know, because the Wheat Ridge Arvada community has always been super good to me, and you know, they hopefully, well, this is kind of a weird thing to say, but like, hopefully the boxing is still kind of like low in there, so I can open something functional fitness boxing community there, and just kind of, you know, you want to, the amount, thinking about having a second location in like another state just scares me, but it's like a good kind of scare. Like, what would that look like? So yeah. Hopefully I'll be back. I had a dream last night. I mentioned before like that I ditched my gym and moved back to Colorado. And I was just like, I woke up, I was like, oh God, what did I do? And I was like, no, I'm still here. We're good. But like Colorado, I know you're in Texas now, but I don't know if you feel the same way. Like Colorado will like forever have my heart. Like I fucking love that place. Just the community that was built there, the nature, everything was just, you know, but my brother lives in Texas, so next time I'll fucking make the drive out. We'll get some lifts going. Just tell me how weak I am. You know?
Yeah, dude. Let me know. And I hope to see you in Colorado. But thank you again, man. Thanks for coming on. Thank you to listeners for tuning in to another episode of the Struggle Strength Podcast. We will see y'all next week.